Hello Frosties! Happy Dragonflight! Today's video is going to cover all things Frostmage in Mythic Plus. I will break down talents, gear, rotation, and more. This video is for both beginners and experts alike, so let's jump straight into it.
Can you feel me now?
Everything in this video is sourced from the All-the-Time Mage Discord. As mages, we are super lucky with the level of talent we have on our theory crafting team. This Discord will contain links to every resource and scrap of information you could ever need. Toe Grinder himself has been working tirelessly coding his fancy new Mage hub. Bookmark this site immediately, as it's going to be your one-stop shop for all things Mage going forward. It contains the most accurate sims for things like trinkets, talents, and races. But more importantly, it contains the official guides and everything you could ever need. Both the Mage Discord and Toe Grinder's Mage Hub are linked in the description below. To kick the video off, let's discuss talents. In AoE situations, your talents will look like this. I know the talent system can be overwhelming at first, especially when you're learning a new spec. Luckily, the rotation for Frost will largely stay the same in both single target and AoE. More on rotation after this segment. There are some shiny new utility buttons now for Frost, such as Dragon's Breath. I will cover utility uses in Mythic Plus later in the video. Going back to talents though, the only thing potentially to think about is the choice between Snowstorm and Wintertide. Snowstorm makes your Cone of Cold deal large damage when fully stacked and used alongside a route such as Ice Nova, which will shatter the Cone of Cold. To put the choice simply, Snowstorm does more damage in large consistent AoE, and Wintertide does more damage in single target and cleave. The reason this is a choice is because your group might be pulling smaller pulls and, generally, pull slower, so your stacks of Snowstorm can fall off, and in these more standardized routes, actually, Wintertide could provide more damage overall. You should judge this choice for yourself and the types of pulls that you experience. Let's move right along to rotation. The rule of thumb for Frost is to use everything on cooldown, with some minor min-max priorities on your procs and spells. Icy Veins is your main cooldown, which when used grants you haste. Rune of Power will place a rune on the floor which increases your spell damage by 40% while you stand within 8 yards. The range is deceptively forgiving for rune, you do have some leeway. Icy Veins will automatically drop a Rune of Power when used. You'll also get a cast of Rune of Power. Frostbolt is your filler spell, which has a chance to grant you Brain Freeze and Fingers of Frost procs. Fingers of Frost procs make your Ice Lance deal triple damage as if the target is frozen, shattering it. Only use Ice Lance when you have a Finger of Frost proc. When you use Flurry, you want to Frostbolt before launching the Flurry, then always press Ice Lance twice after. Flurry leaves a debuff on the target called Winter's Chill, which causes the next 2 spells on the target to act as if frozen, hence why you press Ice Lance twice after. Free procs, yay! The reason you Frostbolt before is because the 3 Flurry projectiles refresh Winter's Chill to 2 stacks and Frostbolt hits before the last Flurry projectile. Effectively, you shatter 3 spells instead of 2. Frost's rotation is mostly press everything on cooldown and press shiny buttons, with some minor min-max priorities on your procs. For example, because Flurry gives you 2 free Ice Lance procs after using it due to Winter's Chill, it's best to prioritize using your Ice Lance procs first before the Flurry. However, this is easier to do on single target, but much more difficult to optimize in large AoE. This is because you will quickly become overloaded with buttons to press and procs, due to the talent Freezing Winds giving you lots of Ice Lance procs and your Flurry being on a timer now. The ultimate takeaway is that proc munching is inevitable, and you just want to use everything on cooldown. Generally, your priority in AoE will be as follows. You want to get a Rune of Power straight away, either from using Icy Veins or manually casting it. Use your Frozen Orb, and then Blizzard. If you are running Snowstorm, prioritize your Cone of Cold proc as soon as you get it, and shatter it with Ice Nova. Note, this is only possible with 50% or more haste, so keep an eye on your haste when using things like Icy Veins and Bloodlust. After this, prioritize Ice Lance procs either with Fingers of Frost or Winter's Chill applied to the target. Use Flurry, and in higher target counts, do not use Frostbolt before it, just get it on cooldown. Then, after all of this, channel Shifting Power. When you have nothing else to press, you can Frostbolt as a filler, or Arcane Explosion in high target counts. Note that Arcane Explosion will do a little bit of damage to everything, as opposed to Frostbolt granting you procs to nuke a priority target with. Because of this, it's recommended to use Frostbolt as a filler because of this meaningful damage. Blizzard should be used at T+ targets with the talents Ice Caller and Freezing Rain, which you will run in an AoE setup. Do not use Blizzard on lower than this, even the instant cast Blizzards. Do not listen to any guide that talks about stat values or tells you to get a certain percentage of a stat. Individual stats and stat percentages are an outdated way of thinking about the game. The reality is that the stats for Frost all work off of each other nicely. Intellect being priority, crit and mastery being next, then haste and verse. Now, despite saying this in somewhat of an order, due to the large intellect stat budget on items, item level will be an upgrade most of the time. You just want as many stats as possible. The only way to tell what gear is an upgrade for your character is to sim your character on the Raidbot's website using Top Gear. Equip whatever the sim tells you is an upgrade without a single thought on your exact stat values. Frost does have a soft cap of 33.34% crit, which gives you a 100% chance for your shattered spells to crit. It's a soft cap, not a goal, meaning that there is no DPS gain at this percentage, only that crit will see a drop in value past this point. Now, this is not something you individually manage, nor is this a number you want to prioritize in reaching. As I said, all it means is crit will lose some value past this point. Any stat breakpoints or caps that exist will always be reflected in the sims. This is not something you individually manage. You sim, equip the gear which makes the number bigger. If you would like a very rough guideline for trinkets, please look at Toegrinder's sims on his Mage Hub. Though remember, this is a generic list and you should always sim to see what's an upgrade for your character's unique gear setup. After telling you all to sim, let's discuss how to do it. There's no exact way to sim for Mythic Plus. You have to recreate various situations you will find yourself in and use some common sense when comparing the data. First of all, always use Patchwork for every sim that you run. Do not get baited into using Dungeon Slice, Hectic Adcleave, or Light Movement for any sim that you run, even raid single target sims. The Mage APLs are not built for these. Always use Patchwork. The generic sims I tend to run for Mythic Plus is simming a few trash pulls in a row. To do this, you want to select Patchwork, up the bosses to around 5, change the length to 2 or 5 minutes, Bloodlust off. The reason you don't want to sim a singular trash pack at 20 to 40 seconds is that it can provide less accurate results. The reason being, it will overvalue and undervalue some things. A trinket might sim best in short burst, however you need to bear in mind you won't have this trinket off cooldown for every trash pack, and, over time, another trinket may provide more use across an entire dungeon. Frost has some notable utility in Dragonflight. First of all, it gains access to greater invisibility. This version of Invis is instant and also provides a 60% damage taken reduction. Your two Invises are separate and do not share a cooldown, so it's recommended that you prioritize your ordinary Invis in skips and then use Greater Invis as a defensive. The next spell Frost now has access to is Dragon's Breath. This is an extremely strong utility spell as it is an AoE disorient. It can be used to stop scary casts, including ones that can't be tackled with a simple interrupt. The last spell is Blast Wave, which causes an explosion around yourself and knocks away nearby enemies. This can be super useful for pushing mobs into a pack, moving mobs out of things like Sanguine, and interrupting a mob. For those newer to Mage, your mirror image reduces your damage taken by 20%. They also take aggro, so a really nice tip is to use them as you're running into a pack as you save yourself a global in AoE. The other noticeable spell is Alter Time. This spell alone has a ton of different uses. It's really strong for when you have predictable huge amounts of damage incoming to recover this health after. You use the ability at full health, take the damage, then press it again to put you back at the health amount you had when you first pressed it. It can also be useful with movement mechanics. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you found this video helpful. Feel free to stop by my stream linked in the description. Any questions, feel free to comment below or join our Discord. I wish you all the best of fun in Dragonflight. Bye bye!